Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. Alright, so this week we finally get to see the dates for pre-orders for Dominion for AOS 3. Pretty exciting. It's looking good. So there's a little bit of information there which we'll go through, and they've given us, I guess, a taste of one of the units from the Stormcast Eternals, one of the new ones that's in the box, so we'll take a look at that as well. So let's get straight into it. So we'll come across here. So yeah, we've got the release date for that launch box. We come down. We've been talking all about the upcoming Dominion box and the launch of the next edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar for a while, but up until now the release date has been a mystery. Today we can share the great news with you. Dominion will be ready to pre-order from the 19th of June and will be in stores on the 3rd of July. Okay, so it doesn't give you any information of how much this is going to cost, but I would imagine it's going to be a little more than the Indominus box for 40k. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. It's it's going to be an interesting journey into pricing for New Games Workshop stuff to see what they do with this. Hopefully they'll make it affordable. Generally speaking, for these types of boxes, they normally do, because that's, you know, they're trying to entice new people into the hobby and all that kind of stuff. So they normally do that, but it's hard to say because they are spruiking this one up to be an amazing box and all that kind of stuff. So they might be wanting to lay a bit more on, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Hopefully it's still a good value box. And from the looks of the units inside, they're probably all pretty useful. So, you know, that's a good thing, right? So let's take a look. That means the new edition will arrive almost exactly 6 years after the launch of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. If you missed it, we explored the full contents. Okay, so yeah, basically, it's like, I guess, sort of like a little bit of an anniversary or a combination of the new edition, the new Warhammer game. And we have the box set here. We've already gone through this before, but you can see it's got a great bunch of models in it. You know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So let's see if they say any more that's interesting down here. So yeah, we've got. So we come down here. Yeah, we've got the core rulebook. So this looks like this will be a separate one. Yep, so you can pre-order the core rulebook on its own from the 19th of June as well. So that's what it's going to look like. It'll have a slip cover. That's pretty cool. So I wonder what kind of price point that's going to be. But it looks good. Nice black cover. You know, I like the art and everything. That's a pretty cool one. I guess this is the limited edition one. Okay, so that's what the limited edition is. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, for people that want that, that's pretty good. And then we come down, we've got the normal one down here. Okay, so we're going for the red style even on the standard. That's pretty good. It's very like classic Warhammer, really, the red and gold. So that's pretty cool, and that looks like that'll come out as well. And this is hardback. Yep, so they're both hardbacks. That's great. And then we come down and we'll have a General's Handbook. So this will be all of the match play stuff and what's going to be inside. I'm not sure whether it gives us anything here. Let's see. Designed to work hand in hand with the new edition, this update brings together a host of changes and updates for your pitch battle games, including updated war scrolls for endless spells, new battle plans, and all the core rules for the game. Yeah, so I'm assuming either in the core book or in here there'll be a change to battalions and stuff like that somewhere. I'm guessing. I don't know which one it'll be in, but we all think, you know, the rumors are that the ones that are in your books, in your army books, are now for narrative, and there'll be a set of generic battalion style things or whatever for your match games, your pitch battles, or whatever they're calling it here, pitch battle. Yeah, so I think there's like a change to that. I think it's meant to be a bit more like 40k, where you've just got like standard sort of detachments, you know, that you can pick from, that everyone gets access to, and then you make your list from that. It makes perfect sense if they go that way, like 40k has, because for me, like, especially as an outsider coming back into AOS from Warhammer, you know, fantasy and all that kind of stuff, and you know, 40k still feels pretty recognizable, but AOS seems very sort of convoluted in terms of how you actually generate an army correctly and all that stuff, with all these different rules everywhere and synergies and things going on. It feels a bit convoluted at times, even though it's really not. It's kind of fairly simple, but the way they sort of put it in the books and where everything is and where you've got to find it all is kind of all over the place. And there's no sort of standardization. So creating like a standardized set of I guess, way that compositions that you make your army from, that all armies are working off of, makes it easier just so you understand like what your opponent's doing, what you've got, and then how you go about it. So you don't have to remember that whole other layer of things, which are kind of, can be really, really tricky, considering that some of those kinds of battalion things that you'll pay for can be in multiple books across multiple editions and so on. It's a bit crazy, but yeah, I'm hoping they're gonna streamline that a little bit. But anyway, we'll see. I don't know whether it's gonna be in the rule book or in this, but one of the two, I guess. So let's come down. So we've got the Path to Glory diary, I guess, if you're into that. So that's like the Crusade style for 40k. So you're going to be, doing your narrative games, like building up your forces and stuff. So that's cool for like, people that don't have a lot of time or just, wanting to play smaller games, I guess. This is pretty fun. Yeah, that's cool. It's a nice addition, I guess. Let's come down. And then we have these. So these are, it says here, this set of 6 scenery pieces represents the trappings of Dawnbringer Crusade settlement. Mark objectives during your games or use them to add some beast stuff to your game, I guess, for the beast era that the current edition is going to be moving into. So yeah, these are cool, definitely objective markers and things like that. I don't know what else you use them for, but maybe they have rules or something, I don't know. But cool, objective set, I guess. That's kind of cool. If they're objectives, shouldn't they all be on like a standardized, I don't know, maybe you don't have to have them on a standardized base size. I would have thought you would have wanted them all on the same size so that they have the projection of the aura around them. I don't know why you'd have them on these odd bases, but I don't know, maybe that's fine. Maybe you don't measure from that. Maybe you measure from the center or something. I don't know. All right, cool. Well, that's all good. Let's come down. And then we obviously have the usual kind of, mats that they bring out, these sort of high-end sort of printed cardboard kind of a deal they have for the different I guess regions, the realmscapes as they call them. So that's good if you don't have a mat or you don't have a board, you can just fold these out. That's pretty good. And I would imagine they're moving to the new size like 40k has, so these will probably make the perfect size board, I would imagine, which is cool. And then we've got a gauge here, all good. And some new colors. So that's interesting. So they're bringing out, obviously, I guess, well, it's not that interesting, I suppose. It's pretty obvious because they're bringing out a new race. They've got to have some colors for it. So that's cool that they're supporting it in that way. So they've designed colors for the range. So the new orcs, the cruel boys, will have a set of colors that you can use if you want to match the colors that are on the box art, which is nice. So that's good. It's a nice sort of pale green. I like this color a lot. This Uruk flesh. That's kind of a cool one. Even this, which looks a little bit like Old Bubonic Brown from the old days, that's not bad too. And this kind of, now this is interesting. Okay, so this catches my fancy because like I'm old school, right? And I've been missing Scorch Brown for so many years. This kind of looks like they might have just remade Scorch Brown. I hope that is Scorch Brown. I don't know exactly because it's a digital image, so it's hard to tell how dark this is. But if that's Scorch Brown, that'll be amazing because that's such a good base for doing all kinds of brown stuff, all kind of brown, materials, leathers, and so on. It's such a good color because it has a bit of red in it. What I've been finding is the way to make it these days is with Doomball and then putting a bit of black with it, and it makes a pretty close approximation to Scorch Brown. But this looks like this might even be closer. So yeah, interesting. I'll be looking out for that and this power one, and even the old bubonic brown sort of color. It's a bit like the Bala brown, but a little bit more yellow. That's really cool. These colors are all really usable. So that's great. That's great. And they're all base colors, so they're going to have a lot of pigment and I guess coverage in them, which is really nice. So let's come down, and then we've got a book here. That's all good if you're into the books. And what's this thing? We've got. Okay, these are limited edition versions of the book. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool if you like collecting your books. That's a nice idea with a sort of the leather kind of style there. Pretty good. Yeah, cool. So we're looking pretty good for the release. So we'll just go back up to the top, and I'll just repeat. The most important thing is that pre-orders will be for the 19th of June. Okay, and it's going to be in stores from the 3rd. I have a feeling. I'd be so surprised if it sold out straight away. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that that's happened a lot, but surely they've figured out they need more than what they've done for some of their other releases. And Curse City really isn't a good example because it's a sub game. It's not a main supported line, whereas Warhammer Age of Sigmar is meant to be, their second largest supported range. So it should have more boxes. That would seem like such a blunder not to have their own Games Workshop stores actually supply this, because this is such a good way to get people in the hobby. If I was still working for the company, I'd be very disappointed if my store didn't have a bunch of these boxes to sell to people, because, who wouldn't want that? Like, if you're coming into the store for the first time and you see this cool looking box with all this great stuff, and it's going to be on all the intro tables and stuff like that, when you're teaching someone how to play, you're going to be playing with these things, right? And you're like, okay, well, where do I get it? And then there's none of them on the shelf, for the launch of a new edition, 6 years after the release, like the big new thing, and there's absolutely no starter box out. That's just insane to me. Back in the old days, that would never have happened. They always made sure they supplied all the stores with enough copies of the new game, because that's what they wanted to sell. You'd be selling those core box sets, the starter box. So they don't really do they still do starter boxes, but they sort of come after this wave. So after this launch box goes, which really is like a classic starter box. So this is like an old school version of like a starter box would be like this. And then, but instead they do these kind of smaller ones, which are starter boxes, which are also really good too, because they're cheaper, right? Easier to get into it. But this kind of big box is really it's the crown jewel. It's what you want when you're getting into the hobby. Like that it's so impressive, right, to a new person. So hopefully they have enough for the stores. I'd be very, it'd be disappointing if they didn't. And yeah, it just makes getting people in, like if you're a Games Workshop employee in the retail chain, it just makes it harder to get people in the hobby if you don't have something like this that's really impressive to get everyone in. But that's just a side note from an old GW person from back in the day. But anyway, so yeah, this is really good. So from July, we're basically going to have this. So that's great. And I would imagine that very soon after that, either during that month or the one after, you're going to start to see their army books, the Kruleboyz and the Stormcast come out. I would imagine it's going to be very, very soon after. So, if not that month, probably the next one after. So yeah, all really cool. So let's just have a last little look at this. So we've got Dominion brings mighty paladins to the mortal realms. None shall pass the Stormcast Eternal Annihilators. So these are basically Terminators like in 40k. So you've got these big armored warriors, slow, but have good armor and so on, and from the looks of it, decent damage. So if we come down here, we see their stats. So we've got only a movement of 4 here, 3 wounds, bravery 7, 2+ armor. So average, bravery, the 3 wound thing. So they're going to be around for a little bit. 2+ save. Yeah, but very, very slow. So they do have a rule to sort of deep strike in. So I guess that's mitigating the slowness. So you're going to want to be a bit more surgical with these, I guess, if you're going to play them. I don't see them being very effective if you're going to start them on the board. Your opponent can just run rings around them and never actually engage them. So they're sort of really kind of particular about how you're going to use these, because I don't see, unless there's ways to buff their movement or get them double moving or doing something to get them faster, even if you're running or whatever. It doesn't feel like these are going to have to be really, really carefully placed. If you play Death Guard in 40k, even with a 5-inch move, it's still very slow. It's still very, very slow. So yeah, it's an interesting stat line, because on the one hand, they're pretty tough, but on the other hand, a smart opponent is never, ever going to engage these, and they're just going to be slowly, working their way across the board, chasing after things and never actually getting into combat. But as I said, they do have a delivery mechanism, which is good. So we're looking down here, we've got Ranger 1, so also short range, so you've got to be right in there. 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound. Not bad, better than average. -1 rend, and then 2 damage. So, as the game is increasing armors and everything, this -1 is definitely needed, and the 2 damage, perfectly fine, all good. That's that. As far as I've seen so far, this is like, I guess, a standard capable stat line. You know what I mean? It's not like amazing, but it's also not bad either. So it's going to work for you, but you are dealing with a small unit with a small number of wounds. So that's a problem, because there are things that can knock out a 3-wound model pretty easy, as far as I can see. So that's a bit of an issue. And if we come down here, we've got their blazing impact. So after this unit is set up on the battlefield for the first time, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 10 inches, and then you, on a 3+, you'll do D3 mortal wounds. Now that sounds, in addition, you can re-roll charge rolls for the unit the first time when they were set up. So that turn that they come down, they'll be able to re-roll a charge if they're going to charge in, which is what you want them to do, right? So you're gonna come in. Yeah, I guess, is this... So they must have some kind of deep striking rule here, because it doesn't really say it there, but they must have some sort of rule like that. I don't know. It looks like that's what this is, but it says after this unit is set up on the battlefield for the first time. Yeah, because if this was set up on your battle line, you wouldn't be within 10 inches of anything. So I don't actually understand how that's going down, but they must jump in. There must be some kind of rule like that. Otherwise, this wouldn't make sense. So yeah, anyway, regardless of that, if you're within a charge range and you're going to do D3 mortal wounds, the problem with this is, so it's kind of like a bit conflicted. The problem with this is, you know, they're probably going to take the models off from the front, so you're then going to have a longer range to charge in, and you're probably going to lose the charge if that sort of deep strike thing does actually work with these guys, which it kind of looks like it does. And then down here, you've got this Force Falling Star. So after this unit makes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch, and then do some more mortal wounds for the length of the charge. So let's say you charge 9 inches and you've got 3 in the unit, then you roll 9 dice on 4+, you do mortal wounds. And that's great, but you've got to get into combat. So I'm assuming this means they've got some kind of deep striking thing. As I said, it doesn't really say it there, but I don't understand why you would have that rule if they weren't deep striking within 9 inches. Doesn't sort of make sense. But anyway, but again, you may not want to do that, because that's going to lengthen your charge if you do end up killing stuff. So there's kind of like a weird thing going on here, which I don't really understand. Someone with a better knowledge of this game is going to be able to work that out better, but there's something conflicting here. It's kind of cool, but not. They're probably going to do about maybe between 4 and 6 mortal wounds when they first come in, and that's kind of cool, but that could also block your charge as well, like stop you from being able to charge even with a reroll. So it's kind of interesting. So they're durable, but maybe it does say that it's the minimum size is 3, so that means that they can be made bigger. So I would imagine if you're going to play these guys, you're definitely going to want to have them in a larger unit. I would say I don't think 3 is very good. You're going to want like at least 6, I would guess, to make them viable, something like that. But then they're so slow, and depending on what the points values are, I don't know, they're a weird unit. They're awesome, but you're definitely going to have to, you know, tech around this and make sure that there's a way to get them in, maybe using an endless spell to help them, or something, some other buff needs to go on here. I'm assuming that there will be in the book, but there's got to be something else to give these guys a better delivery system and get them into combat still intact and not completely destroyed. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's only showing us a little bit of their rules, not the whole thing. So they might have some crazy ability on their shield, or they may have, you know, some other character might be able to buff these guys up, or as I said, they might be able to come in closer, or I don't know. They definitely, but as just from looking at this on its own, you know, it's a very difficult one to really know whether this is any good. But yeah, we'll see. So let's come back over to this, which is the real good news. This box. So once again, 19th of June, on the 3rd, that's when you'll be able to pre-order, and on the 3rd of July, it'll come out in the stores. So that's great. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that subscribe button if you have. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you on the next one, guys.